Baruch Hashem, it is day number 299 of the Rambam Sefer HaMitzvos, and in the 3 chapters a day study track of Mishnah Torah, we're continuing Hilchas Malva V'Leiva, the laws of loans, chapters 13, 14, and 15. We have 2 mitzvahs today. Negative Commandment 241 is the prohibition against taking collateral from a widow. Not allowed to take collateral from a widow. Now, you probably remember we've mentioned before when we've had other collateral-related mitzvahs, where there was a distinction made as to whether that was at the outset, like at the beginning when the loan was made and the terms for the loan was established, as opposed to at the end of the term when the lender was defaulting already. In this prohibition, no such distinction is made, meaning it's extremely stringent. Even at the very beginning, you're not allowed to set up the terms of the loan this way, where a widow gives any form of collateral. Just not allowed. Not allowed. Okay, so it's not just that he's not allowed to do it at the end when she's defaulting on the loan. He's not even allowed to set it up that way to begin with. Okay, you just can't take collateral from a widow. All right, negative commandment 242 is the prohibition against taking food preparation-related items as collateral. The Torah says that it's like taking somebody's life because you need food preparation items to make food, and you need food for life. So you're not allowed to take that from somebody as collateral. Interestingly, the scriptural source for this prohibition is Dvarim Chov Daled Vav, Deuteronomy 24:6. And there it speaks about millstones. Millstones being the example of food-related items. But the Rambam says it could be any food-related items. It could be a mixing bowl. It could be a knife. It could be the Cuisinart. But the example of the millstones, we're probably not so used to how millstones work, but there's an upper millstone and a lower millstone. They have different names. In the scriptural source, it refers to the Rechayim and the Rechev, the lower and the upper millstone. So they turn on each other, and then you put the grain in between, and it crushes and cracks it up in order to turn it into flour, which can actually be eaten. So the Rambam asks, is that 2 separate prohibitions? Right? We have 365 prohibitions in the Torah. Right, 613 mitzvahs, 248 positive, 365 negative. Are they 2 different prohibitions of the 365 prohibitions? The Rambam says no. It's one prohibition. It's one prohibition. Whether you take the upper stone or the lower stone, it's one prohibition. And in fact, it's the same prohibition that applies to taking any food preparation-related item as collateral. It's all one prohibition. Okay, so then why does it mention the 2 different components, the higher stone, the lower stone? He says, I'll tell you why. Because you might say, see, we don't really relate to how millstones work, but basically one is useless without the other. They turn on each other. So if you have one, it's like the sound of one hand clapping. It's like the flour that you make from one millstone. You can't make any flour from one millstone. You need both millstones. So you might say they're useless without each other. So taking both is the same as taking one, because once you take one, it's useless. So by taking 2, it's not really making it any worse. The Rambam says, no. That's why the scripture singles out both of them, each of them, because if the creditor were to seize both the higher and the lower millstone, he'd be actually transgressing one mitzvah. It's one mitzvah, but he'd be doing it twice. He'd be transgressing the same mitzvah twice. And then Rambam says, what's this like? It's like the previous mitzvah we had, the prohibition against taking collateral from a widow. Imagine a person gives loans to 4 widows and he takes collateral from each of them. So would you say that he only did one transgression? Or would you say, no, it's one mitzvah we're dealing with, but he transgressed that one mitzvah 4 separate times because there were 4 different widows. So the same thing that Rambam says, if a person takes food preparation-related items from a creditor, from a debtor as collateral, then each item that he takes as collateral is another act of transgressing that prohibition. Although it's one prohibition, but it's several acts of transgression against that prohibition. Okay, those are our mitzvahs for today. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing.